All right, we're going to do some practice problems together. So the first one is 23 and 28/100 divided by 9 and 7/10. We're going to write it first using the division box. We have a decimal in our divisor, so we need to move it to the right to make it a whole number. We move it one time to the right in our divisor. That means we move it one time to the right in our dividend. Then we move it up to the top. Now we can forget about it and divide just as if they were whole numbers. We're going to list our multiples of 97. So that's 194, 291, 388, 485, and that's probably enough. So we're going to take it one digit at a time. 2 divided by 97, can't do that. Bring down the 3. 23 divided by 97, can't do that. Bring down the 2. 232 divided by 97. I want to get as close to 232 without going over. 291 goes over, so I have to use the second multiple. 2 times 97 is 194. I'm going to subtract, and I have to regroup to do my subtraction. So 12 minus 4 is 8. I have to regroup again. 12 minus 9 is 3. 38 is less than 97, so we're going to bring down our 8. 388 divided by 97, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4th multiple. I have no remainder, and that's a good thing because we're not allowed to when we do decimals. So 23 and 28/100 divided by 9 and 7/10 is 2 and 4/10. Our next problem, we're going to write using the division box. 25 and 2/10 divided by 5/10. We have a decimal in our divisor, so we move it to the right to make it a whole number. We moved it one time, so we move it one time in our dividend, and then we put it straight up in our quotient and forget about it. 2 divided by 5, we can't do that. Bring down the 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 5 times 25 is 25. We subtract and get 0. We bring down our 2. 2 divided by 5. We can't do that. We must put a 0 up here in a quotient. You can't just say you can't do it and go on to the next step. You actually have to put a 0 in your quotient. 0 times 5 is 0. We subtract and get 2. It is less than our divisor, but we're not allowed to have a remainder since we're dividing decimals. So we put a 0 in our dividend and bring it down and keep going. 20 divided by 5 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. We have no remainder. So we got 5 and 4/10, or sorry, we got 50 and 4/10 as our quotient. Number 3, we're going to write using the division box. 9 and 483 thousandths divided by 8 and 7/10. We have a decimal in our divisor, so we're going to move it to the right to make it a whole number. We moved it one time in our divisor. We have to move it one time in our dividend. And we move it straight up to the top. We're going to list our multiples of 87. That's 174, 261, 348, 435, 522, and that's probably enough. 9 divided by 87, can't do it. Bring down the 4. 94 divided by 87, 1. 1 times 87 is 87. We're going to have to do some regrouping to subtract. 7 is less than 87. We bring down one digit. We have 78 divided by 87. We cannot do that, so we put a 0 in our quotient. 0 times 87 is 0. We subtract and get 78. It is still less than 87. We bring down the 3, and I did not list enough multiples. So let's list a couple more. We have 609, 696, 783. Oh, look, there's the one I needed. So that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth multiple. 9 times 87 is 783. We have no remainder. So we got 1 and 900ths. Number 4, we have 410 thousandths divided by 2 tenths. Since we have a decimal in our divisor, we move it to the right to make it a whole number. We only moved it one time, so we only move it one time in our dividend. And then we move it straight up to the top. So we have 4 divided by 2 is 2. We bring down the 1. 1 divided by 2 is 0 because you can't do it. You have to put a 0 there. And then you bring down the next 0. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 5 times 2 is 10. So we got 2 and 500ths. All right, number 5, 4 and 2 tenths divided by 7. Notice, there is not a decimal in your divisor. You're not moving any decimal in the divisor, which means you are not moving any decimal in your dividend. You just bring it straight to the top and divide as if it were whole numbers. 4 divided by 7 is 0. We bring down our 2. We have 42 divided by 7 is 6. So 4 and 2 tenths divided by 7 is 6 tenths. Number 6, we have 427 thousandths divided by 6 and 1 tenth. We do have a decimal in our divisor this time, so we move it to the right to make it a whole number. We only had to move it one time, so we move it one time in our dividend and put it straight up to the top. We're going to list our multiples of 61. That's 122, 183, 244, 305, 366, 427. We're going to take it one digit at a time. 4 divided by 61, can't do it. Put a 0 in your quotient. 42 divided by 61, can't do it. Bring down your 7. 427 divided by 61, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh multiple. 7 times 61 is 427. We subtract and get 0. So we got 700ths as our quotient. Number 7, 804 thousandths divided by 4 tenths. We have a decimal in our divisor, so we have to move it to the right to make it a whole number. We move it to the right the same number of times in our dividend as we did in our divisor. We move it straight up to the top. 8 divided by 4 is 2. We bring down the 0. 0 divided by 4 is 0. You can't just bring down the next number. You have to put a 0 in your quotient. 0 times 4 is 0. Now we can bring down our next digit. 4 divided by 4 is 1. We have no remainder, and that's good because we're not allowed to with decimals. So we got 2 1/100th as our quotient. Number 8, 4 75/100ths divided by 2 5/10ths. We have a decimal in our divisor. We move it to the right to make it a whole number. We move our decimal in our dividend to the right the same number of times that we did in our divisor. And then we move it straight up to our quotient. The multiples of 25 are just like counting quarters. 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225. 4 divided by 25, you can't do that. Put a 0 in your quotient. Bring down the 7. 47 divided by 25 is 1. 1 times 25 is 25. And when we subtract, we get 22. It is less than 25. We bring down our next digit, 5. 225 divided by 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's our 9th multiple. 9 times 25 is 225. So 1 9/10 was our answer. We just did 8 problems together. You have 5 problems to complete on your own. Pause the video and copy down these 5 problems and then work them out by yourself. Make sure you pay attention to if you have a decimal in the divisor or if you don't, because if you don't have a decimal in the divisor, you don't have to move any decimal. But if you do have a decimal in the divisor, you have to move it. Pause the video and work them out, and then you can unpause the video and I will show you the answers, but you have to make sure that you don't just write down the answer and you show me all the work. Here are the answers. Notice I showed you just the answers. I did not show you the work. You must show me the work for these 5 problems along with the other problems that we did. You will turn in your scratch paper when you come in for your test date. On your scratch paper, you can write Tuesday's video lesson or Tuesday's decimal practice. Email me if you have any questions.